Welcome back to WD Magic Cast for the week of October 29th, 2023. This is episode 240. WD Magic Cast, the show about the mouse, the Marvels, the galaxy, and beyond. I'm your host, Matthew Graken. In this week's show, Isaac and I sit down and discuss some of the more important milestones of the Walt Disney Company. The Walt Disney Company is celebrating 100 years of magic, mystery, pizzazz, everything. So 100 years of the Disney Company. That is a huge accomplishment. A lot has happened, and we're going to touch on some of those key moments, some of the things that we think stand out in the 100-year history. Hey, it's 100 years. There's a lot to talk about, and we'll see what we come up with. Make sure you join us on the social media. We can be found on X, Twitter, wherever you want to call it, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, at WD Magiccast. And also make sure to check out our TeePublic store where you get yourself some really nice, cool stuff, usually on sale. Hey, it's wintertime. Those hoodies, fantastic. Keep you nice and warm. Cozy up by the fire with someone or by yourself with a nice book and listening to your favorite podcast. Either way, get yourself something cool, help your favorite podcast out, and get yourself something in the meantime. And with that, on with the show. So as I was saying, this is 100 years of the Disney Company. It's mind-blowing to think Walt started this company with his brother Roy over 100 years ago now, that the two of them, with, as the song goes, a suitcase and a dime, just sat down and said, hey, you know what? We're starting the Disney Brothers studio, and we're going to go in business for ourselves because we can't figure out what else to do, and we're stuck here in California. And who would have thought 100 years later, and how many films, animation projects, theme parks, rides, the accolades go on and on and on, and we probably could talk about it for 100 years, but I don't think we have that kind of time. I know my guest does not, not my guest, my co-host doesn't have that kind of time because he's busy saving the world one letter at a time, one code at a time, and that genius mastermind who, with a dime, has conquered the world as well. Isaac, welcome aboard. How you doing?
No, thank you for having me along. And kind of just like you said, man, to know that these two brothers that came together to start, what was a simple entertainment company of cartoons now has turned into this billion-dollar monster of a conglomerate, man, that just brings magic and joy to everybody around the world. So, yeah, man, thank you for having me, man. I stopped my superhero saving duties just to join up on this podcast. So to kind of just give our love and respect to Disney for reaching 100 on their birthday, man.
Yeah, congratulations to them, and here's to the next 100. I don't think I'll be around to see that one, but I'm glad I'm here to see this one, and I'm glad I'm here talking to you about it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So you are my guest, you are my friend. I will let you go first. What do you think some of the major milestones? Now, I know we're not going to be able to touch on everything. So just some of the ones that stand out in our mind of what are just some of the major things that have come from the Disney Company that has been important.
I think in terms of like importance, like for me when I growing up, in a small house, somewhere in Jersey, the recognition of just Disney has always been about cartoons, and that's the things that I've always turned to. And one of their biggest things that, I knew Disney really mostly was through their Black Diamond VHS collection when I was a kid, and Yeah, one of honestly, I'll come to say this. I think one of the favorite films that I've always enjoyed growing up was The Little Mermaid. Honestly, was one of my favorite films, just because of just the colors and the animation and just how rich and full and excitement it is. I think I've watched that film almost like 100 times when I was a kid. Um, and that was only even encapsulated when my first ever time going to a movie theater, and seeing that live in movie theater, which was like the most amazing thing because I've never been to a movie theater with the big bright lights and stuff like that, which is one of the things um, that made me fall in love was going to theaters and watching film and just to be in that experience. I kind of dedicate all that to that particular film growing up as a kid. And yeah, and it just kind of put me on that train of more of those films that came out was like was The Rescuers Down Under and Aladdin and The Jungle Book and all these all these re-releases that were just kind of exposing us to more of this great library that Disney has shown to me as a kid. And yeah, it kind of opened my it really has kind of was my introduction to really this magical side that Disney really just tries to promote itself as a child. Another thing too that I would want to I don't know if you guys remember, and maybe this is us dating ourselves. The kid I know, right? That's a dangerous word to say, but
I'm older than you.
yeah. The kids sing-alongs back in the day on the VHS.
Yes.
Um, one in particular that my mom bought me was the Disneyland version of them basically setting up the park, and it was just kind of their introduction to setting up the whole Disneyland park. When as a child, and they bring in all these Disney characters that I've seen as a kid, The Little Mermaid and Alice in Wonderland and Jungle Book and all these villains and Mickey Mouse being the more popular one, just riling up all these characters together, just trying to get the park ready and all the unique places before then when it was just the focus on the Magic Kingdom. Now up to this point we're in 2023, it's blown up to more and bigger things, it's expanded. But that was another little gateway, and then me watching that as a young kid. um Disneyland was like, listen, the advertisement was on point. It made a kid want to go to Disneyland when as a kid. Like they magically sold that to me when I was young at the day. So yeah, those are the things. And then I had an opportunity to go. I want to say '97. When the parks come when we had that opportunity to take a trip down there in Florida and actually be able to be there in person though. But yeah, that for a person that kind of lived in that small area, that really is my joyous moments of really being a Disney fan.
I remember this was before the special edition VHS and stuff, and just we had plain VHS. And growing up, my mom would let me rent borrow them from the library, and that's when I would borrow that, and I'd get like Flight of the Navigator and Tron, and a lot of the older films. And that's how I was able to watch some of them instead of going to the theater to be able to catch them, because my parents were going to take me to see those movies or all those movies. So I was able to again borrow them from the library and watch the VHS of them. But it's funny that you bring up the Disneyland sing along episode show, because I never watched those as a kid because they were the timing just didn't work out. I never
Yeah.
watched those. I have bought in those for my kids on DVD because they translate some of them to DVD. unfortunately, not all of them. The circus one I can find online, but so sad I can't find that one on. They don't have that on the DVD, but they do have it's Small World, which is actually the Disneyland one that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And Disneyland Fun, and it is fantastic. My kids love it. They actually ended up making 3 park ones specific around the parks. They have the Disneyland Fun one that you're talking about. They have Beach Party, which takes place at Disney World, mostly at the water parks. And then they also have the Animal Kingdom one, which kind of goes around the Animal Kingdom, which isn't so good. No, tell a lie. There is 4. There's the Camp Out one as well, which takes place at Fort Wilderness in Disney World. So, but yeah, no, the Disneyland Park one is particularly good because, like you said, you have the characters running around creating the magic and getting the park ready, and it's just it's so much fun. And but to your point, the videos that they put out between the movie releases and the direct-to-video stuff was just so enjoyable as kids or for kids that it is it's nice, happy memories. It was an escape as a kid, something that you could dream about. And yes, you got the marketing end of it. Well, come to the park because you see Mickey putting plush away and Donald Duck knocking the plush off the group and, Goofy on the roller coasters. Which, let's, be honest, doesn't fully happen. But it's just that idea and that concept and that just brings the happiness.
Yeah.
No, thank you for bringing those up because that is good. See, because I'm gonna just go. I might as well say it. It has to be said at some point, and I'll be the one to say it as long as you don't mind.
Yeah.
That, like Walt said, it all started with a mouse. November 1928. People walked into the Colony Theater and saw for the first time Steamboat Willie. Not Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie with Mickey Mouse in it. Up on the screen, whistling away and talking. It's the first animated subject to use synchronized sound. Sound and the movie was, put together. And everything worked out timing wise. Otherwise, before that, you just had someone on a piano or a piano playing along just a generic tune. And the synchronized sound was coming out, and Walt goes, "Let's do this. Let's take a shot on this, and see what happens. I want to push the medium."
Yeah,
because they already had other stuff in production, practically finished. They had Plane Crazy, which was finished when Steamboat Willie was in production. Scrapped the finished product of Plane Crazy, finished up Steamboat Willie with the synchronized sound, redid Plane Crazy with synchronized sound, which would be the next release.
Yes.
So, really just kind of crazy how that all came about, but in the end, we got Mickey Mouse.
Yes.
And like Walt said, he's a little personality, to each and every one of us. And we see him now as a corporate symbol and kind of this, it's just Mickey Mouse. But back in the day, he was a big deal, and for a cartoon character like that to become this big deal. Really had to be something special because he just wasn't there for the laughs. I mean, you had this character that would get upset about stuff and get emotional about things, and it just wasn't for the laughs. There's a whole personality, a whole spirit to him, and that wasn't necessarily commonplace for these shorts and stuff like that. So, it really did all start with the mouse. There's things happened before that. You had the Alice comedies, which even back then, and we're talking 1924, where he would have a actress acting out stuff with cartoon characters. Obviously, she couldn't see it. It wasn't the computer generated technology to drop them in blue screen. None of that worked. Walt figured out a way to you would animate on the cells. He would take the pictures and marry them together with the camera.
Oh, yes.
I mean, laborious by hand, and you're talking 3 people, 4 people doing this. You're not talking, a whole studio worth of people like you have nowadays of hundreds, thousands of people.
I agree now.
So when you really think about what was involved in those early days of these productions, I mean, you look at the credits and it's like Walt Disney and Ub Iwerks, because that's really all it was.
I agree. It's funny that I apologize to jump in. It's funny that you brought that up, because another film growing up, along with The Little Mermaid, my dad, back when with VHS, he would record films on his VHS, and one of the films that I popped up along with The Little Mermaid was a small film called Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Bedknobs and Broomsticks, yes.
1971.
Yes, Angela Lansbury.
Yes. Everybody knows her as the murder. Angela Lansbury as Miss Price. Some folks probably know her as the Murder She Wrote lady, but for me, that was my first appearance in watching her, and just the animation and the fact that you saw humans mingling with cartoon characters, so something you would never have thought as a kid, watching that happening. And again, that just kind of goes the beauty and the magic of what Disney brought, and even the sense kind of pushing the industry of what you can do with animation. Because I mean, animation, like you said, was Disney, and Steamboat Willie was years ahead of time. This kind of took the next step of combining humans with animation, and a lot of the same tricks that you see have been evolved, but can kind of go back to this like era of filmmaking.
Yeah, that was the follow-up project after Mary Poppins.
Yeah, another great favorite movie. Love Mary Poppins.
And the fight that Walt had to go through with P.L. Travers to get there, which they Helen-wise, they took some liberties, but the film Waking Mr. Banks with Tom Hanks as Walt Disney really makes you appreciate what he had to go through to literally wine and dine and try to get on the good gracious of P.L. Travers to be able to make that movie. And she wasn't too thrilled with his ideas and what he was going to, what the directions he wanted to take.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie turned into a huge success. Julie Andrews, a Academy Award for Best Actress. It won several awards. It is a phenomenal film. The music out of it, and Dick Van Dyke's performance, and everybody who's in it did such a good job. But again, it's pushing that, let's combine the animation and the real world in this larger than life film. And like I said, it's funny to think that he was doing that in the early 1920s. And
yes.
Then, Mary Poppins comes out in the 60s, and that's got a lot more people behind it, and it's a bigger production. Obviously, it's a whole feature-length movie.
Mm-hmm.
And they got hundreds of people working on the animation. You have the Sherman Brothers writing the score, and you got so much else behind that, but it paid off. Again,
Yeah.
it was a huge risk. It was something, he read the story to his daughters at night, and he said, you know what, I want to make this into a film. And the years that he tried to get the film rights, and finally was able to get the film rights and be able to put that out. Just again, um, another fantastic film. Like I said, led to Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and just pushed the
Yeah.
boundaries of what is possible in a film. I mean, you look at films now, and yeah, they use a lot of special effects and stuff, but it's a lot of it's animation.
Yes.
And the lines between what is an animated film and what is a live action film is so blurred now. I mean, you look at Avengers Endgame and you go, that's a live action film. There is probably more animated runtime in that film than there is live action runtime in that film.
Yeah, no, definitely. Since it goes very CGI heavy, but when you go, like you said, when you look at a movie like Mary Poppins, which, like you said, is another film that I think I've watched 100 times, along with The Little Mermaid and Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Um, it just, again, that blend of actors beautifully interacting with animation at that time was something even a kid of who are it's the 80s going into the 90s was just something amazing. Like like totally amazing, and the set screens and stuff with that. And like going back to like what you're saying about that film, because you could understand how crazy and ludicrous of an idea that it was to try to pitch to the studios, and even the budget at the time, if we were to count for inflation, was probably big, like you don't know, like it is a risk that you're sitting down and taking on for a film like that, you know. So I could
Yeah.
totally understand where people would be a little bit hesitant to do that, and then you're trying to bring very established actors and actresses on board. They're like, well, this is a ludicrous idea. No one's gonna go for it, you know. But but it just kind of just shows you just the boldness and the genius of the creative to be able to convince them and to kind of show that it was going to work and people are going to sit down and love it and bank into Disney and Walt Disney's genius. It banked, you know. People
Oh yeah.
enjoyed it, and it's an incredible pop culture staple even till this day. You know, even like young people are growing up will know exactly who Mary Poppins is in some form of way. You know.
The estimated budget for it was $6 million.
Yeah. Which, I mean, if you were to probably like account for inflation, probably was like somewhere. I, I I'm probably not great for math. That'd probably be 20 times as much if a film like that were to be made today.
Yeah,
You know.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
Um, and it's and this is before Julie Andrews did Sound of Music.
And that's the one where she got the Academy Award for,
Well,
right?
no, she got one
Oh,
for
she
Mary
won
Poppins.
before. Oh, it was a Mary Poppins one. Oh, see, wow. See, look at that.
Yeah, so she was already Academy Award winning actress Julie
Thanks
Andrews
to
going
Mary
into
Poppins.
Sound of Music, thanks to
Mary
Mary
Poppins.
Poppins. Yeah, Best
That's
Actress in a Leading Role, Julie Andrews. Best Film Editing, Cotton Warburton. Best Effects, Special Visual Effects. Best Original Song for Chim Chim Cheree. Best Music, Original Score for the Sherman Brothers. Nominated for Best Picture, nominated for Best Director, nominated for Best Writing Screenplay, nominated also for cinematography, art direction, costume design, sound, best music score, adaptation
yeah.
treatment. So, nominated for a lot and winner of some big stuff too.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, no, I mean it's Well, this is an interesting one. It won the BAFTA Film Award for Most Promising Newcomer to a Leading Film Role. Julie Andrews.
Well,
Whatever
BAFTA.
happened to her?
Oh man, I'm
But
pretty sure she did pretty well for her career.
I think something may come of her.
I think something very much did though. But yeah, no, just again, no, it's just an amazing movie feat that is still even enjoyable to this day
Yeah.
too, with what they were able to accomplish, and it's just fun and unique, and it was whimsical for a kid too, for some magical woman to come. It made me believe that a magical woman can come into my randomly pop up in my doorstep and just make everything great, you know. So
Before you
back
go there,
from down.
pull a coat rack out of her carpet bag and have
Yeah.
dancing penguins and just such a magical world. Um,
And make it
we'll
and
move on. Um, because I mean, just quickly touch on. I mentioned Tron. Tron being the first movie to use CGI in it.
oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I will have to. I'd never watched Tron. I know of. I mean, I played the game, but I've never really watched the film. I always knew that was a part of Disney, and I know they made a sequel because a couple of years after that they made a big sequel. So I'm not too. I know
Several
they they
decades
made
later.
decades
Later.
later, but
We should come back and revisit this one at some point, and I'll be
I
interested to
definitely
get
think
your take
so.
versus my take on Tron.
I definitely would
But
have to watch that.
yeah, let's keep moving along. And what else do you got?
So, I think in terms of like Disney, and I'll admit, like I'm not gonna. Since then, I've been in and out of Disney a lot around during more my teenage years, and again, one of the more bigger impacts to me was when I got more into comic books, and mostly, I was into other forms, DC, right, and Marvel, but also Marvel too. I kind of dabble a little bit in Marvel, but I've always liked, the Spider-Mans. I always liked the X-Men. I always liked the Fantastic Four, all those major characters. So, the bigger milestone when to learn that, Marvel was being bought out. You know, '09 um was an incredibly big changing of the guard in terms of uh, of what we're going to see in terms of Marvel moving forward. Now, I know if anybody knows what's Marvel, Marvel around that time, was kind of a struggling comic book company into the point where they, in order to kind of stay afloat, they made these deals of selling off some of their IPs to certain movie studios, hence why you got in all these big movie studios. So when Marvel ended up buying those big rights in '09, that was a big set off to, okay, so they're going to make some movies. And you have to also remember when they bought Marvel, they really were kind of concerned because at the end of the day, they didn't have the major big players. Spider-Man was still Sony at the time. X-Men was before Fox, which is very interesting, joins that. So they really didn't have the big players. They didn't have the Fantastic Four, the ones that you would want to start a movie universe with. But they did have like the mainstay characters like Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and from there they were able to build this massive billion-dollar empire just based off those characters alone. Which, in a weird way, also now clamored like Marvel's done such a great job. They wish that they can bring all these properties back in and stuff to go do it the Marvel way. So I think Marvel joining was such an interesting proposition, exactly what they would do. And and I also kind of admit, I was also kind of nervous about it because again, growing up, as a kid, you know, as being an adult, you're more into a little bit more mature things. And Marvel at the time had some lot more mature content along with their stuff. So at that point, it was Disney really being a focus of family 9 out of 10. One sometimes maybe naive or maybe ignorant fan would have thought, okay, well, if this is going to be the case, then we may not get a lot of these mature Marvel IPs. They may push these things more to the back for more family friendly affair. And again, I wasn't against that, but you were also worried about where those cool IPs would have gone and how they would have handled it. So I wouldn't lie that I was a little nervous with the Marvel acquisition when it was bought, though. But up to this point, it's been great. Right now, it's kind of on a lull, a cruising lull period. Now, I wouldn't say going down, but I think Marvel and Disney have done a really good balance to give you that family friendly stuff, but still be able to kind of meet people halfway with some of the mature stuff.
Yeah, people have this mindset that, oh, Disney's coming into it or working on this, that it's going to be watered down and done this way and done that way. And the truth is, they let Marvel be Marvel.
Yeah.
But I remember whenever the acquisition took place and the lawyers had a nightmare trying to work through all those agreements and all those handshakes that Stan Lee made with okay, the movie licensing rights for this characters with this studio, but the TV rights are over here and this and that, and just everything was kind of all over the place. And who has
I
this?
could only imagine how that was. That was probably crazy,
right? Because
to
it's
track
not
all
just
that
like
down.
You think, okay, Sony's got Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but they have the Spider-Man like package. So what is included in the Spider-Man, especially since you have characters that will show up in Spider-Man, but then show up elsewhere as well. Like, okay, you have Spider-Man, you have Black Cat show up on there, but she shows up in Daredevil too. So where does she belong? Who's got the rights to this? No one knew. And it wasn't until the acquisition was happening that someone actually sat down and tried to figure this out. Because Stan Lee's like, all right, here, yes, go ahead, go to take
He
that.
didn't know.
Sure, you want to do that? All right, send me the check and go right ahead. Not really thinking big picture about it.
And to jump into that, not only were you dealing with the IPs, being sent to the movies, on the other hand, you're also dealing with the merchandising. Because those are separate. That's another legal nightmare that you have to kind of maneuver with the characters. Like you said, Spider-Man was over at Sony, but in here we still have like the toy rights, and what do we take on that? It like you said, it must have been a complete mess.
Oh yeah,
I'm trying to figure that out.
So yeah, that was, and that took them quite some time, actually a few years to get that all to work out. But yeah, that was a nice acquisition. The Lucasfilm, which went a lot smoother. That was another one. The Muppets, one of my personal favorites. It was nice to see them pulled into the fold and see Disney try to revive that. Unfortunately, Disney also at the same time I don't feel knows what to do with Muppets, and it's still showing. But to see that they're still working at it. This year you had the Electric Mayhem, which was fantastic series on Disney Plus. The Jolly Holidays Christmas Spectacular that's going on at the Hollywood Studios has a stage show with Miss Piggy and Kermit in it. That is actually, they're the central characters. They have a restaurant in Epcot that's based around them. Same thing with the studios. So they are bringing them in. They're trying to incorporate them. They're still just trying to figure it all out. And hopefully with Electric Mayhem, they have done that. But something else I wanted to bring up, and this is kind of a strange one that people probably wouldn't associate with Disney, is roller coasters. And two major things with roller coasters started with Disney. One, the first tubular steel roller coaster, which was the Matterhorn at Disneyland. First tubular steel coaster and electronic dispatch system. That all started at Disneyland. And then also the first fully indoor roller coaster being Space Mountain. Started at Disney World. Both two major, can you picture a roller coaster without having a tubular steel? It'd just be a every roller coaster be a wooden roller coaster.
No, and that's actually kind of interesting that you brought that because I didn't know exactly that. Like, yeah, because I guess not, because you've taken I guess I've taken the steel version for granted, but I didn't know that was a part of the kind of the before they became the Imagineers, that they were already kind of thinking, they were kind of already being the visionaries on theme park and attractions. And no, that's a really cool idea. I really didn't really know that. That's a pretty dope thing that they were the first to do that.
Right, which I
Because
mean goes into
yeah,
the Wedway Enterprises that Walt created to help create these theme parks, which eventually became in 1986 Disney Imagineering as we know it now. Who,
yeah.
the dreamers that come up with all this stuff for the parks and other things too. Most people don't realize that they do things beyond theme parks. Theme
Oh,
parks as well.
I bet, you always want to be able to be innovative. It's you always have to give people more reasons to continue to come back, and you always have to continue to push that envelope. And that's cool because it's now, I guess I don't want to say you take that like steel roller coasters for granted, because now everybody has the same type of roller coaster designs and structures that I think people go to. But the fact that Disney was kind of the first to bring it would make sense, because they're always pushing the envelope and trying to bring new fun ride attractions to entertain people.
Yeah. So what's another one you got, Isaac?
Yeah. So with that, with another, and I think it was more of the films, and me being the film guy, with Marvel, which is kind of funny. Only 10 years down the road, they jumped to finally take it on 20th Century Studios. Now we're going from teen to more adult now. And with
Oh
this
yeah.
with this acquisition, and now me being the pessimistic person's like, well, all right, well, Disney's trying to buy out some things right now at the moment, because now if you're talking about Marvel having some more adult, more adult to teenage and mature content. Well, 20th Century Fox is a completely different animal altogether. I didn't know how that was going to fit within the Disney machine. So, because again, in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, they have The Simpsons, they have they have Prey, Predator, Family Guy, all these really big. Home Alone was a part of the whole package. Independence, Alien. Yeah, I think I said Alien. Alien was
Predator,
one.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
Alien.
Predator. Die Hard. Like everybody loves Die Hard. Deadpool. Yeah, all these made clearly clearly one of the bigger acquisitions was the fact that they finally got the X-Men and the Fantastic Four back with those rights.
And Daredevil too. Wasn't Daredevil part of that?
Yes, Daredevil was Fox.
No, Daredevil ended up somehow on Netflix, and Netflix when that lapsed.
No, I think no, because there was a Daredevil movie with the Ben Affleck one that people forget.
Yes, but that I think was somebody else, and that lapsed because they never, after Elektra, they didn't make anything more.
That's probably true.
2003 Ben Affleck. Who was this? This is nope, 20th Century Fox.
Yeah, 20th Century Fox. Okay, so that okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, right. Yeah, so talking about that, going back to it. So yeah, I admit I was getting even a little bit more nervous with that, and I mean, up to this point, now that's 2023. After, wow, that's not really that. I mean, it's 2023, but it's not really that far ago in terms of that acquisition. I guess it's been. I wouldn't say a lot of things have been hits with that acquisition. And to be fair, like with Disney, when you have so much IPs and properties, it's really, you really have to kind of pick and choose what works. Say for Disney Plus, like I know they did like a Home Alone, they did a new Home Alone film, and hopefully to like reboot that in certain things. I don't know how well that did. And then there's some other IPs like bringing back up the Predator franchise in the form of Prey, putting that on the Hulu, putting that like on Hulu Plus, which from again I have not had the opportunity to watch that, and I know I gotta catch up.
I watched Prey, and it's well done.
I've heard nothing but great response to Prey, all to the point that I think even to this point that people still want that to at least get like a special run in movie theaters because
Yes.
how good that film was. And again, this is back then me like, what are they gonna do with Predator? What are they gonna do with the Alien franchises? So at least they're looking at these products, and you always hope that the people up there are doing their best to put these IPs in be respectful to the fans that came before it that supported these projects, but at the same way put them in right places. That of course, because got to make money, right? On top of that, but they are doing justice to them. So that you have to give them some respect to that.
So, we could go on for like I said, for days with this, but I think I'll go wrap it up if that's okay with you with Disneyland and the Disney parks in general, but it started with Disneyland. Being I as much as I love the movies, I'm really big into the theme parks, and it reinvented a place for families to go to. The hub and spoke idea of, okay, you walk in here and everything radiates like the sun at different points off of where to go to navigate, how a park is designed, how the attractions are designed, how it's run, has really transformed the theme park industry. It wasn't even an industry before. I don't think it really much existed before that. You had Knott's Berry Farm. I think that was about it. But Disneyland in itself was this whole creature that just exploded, and Walt using his capabilities to finance it, this absurd idea, and market it through television to build the hype and get it more people interested. I mean, Disneyland is as I hear people refer to it, as the world's most famous regional theme park. It's not a big park. It is a small thing. Any other company ran it, it would be just a park. Like anyone else has roller coasters and rides and whatever. But Walt was behind this and turned it into a phenomenon. There were people all across the nation and the world took notice of this small, tiny little orange grove in the suburbs of Los Angeles that decided to make, turn this into a focal point, into something more than just let's go for a ride and a hot dog or a churro. We're going to this place that, has must-see attractions and rides that are rites of passage. Like eventually when they built the Pirates of the Caribbean and the Haunted Mansion, Space Mountain, all these attractions that eventually were built, or even going back to what's left for opening day, Small World, or just even seeing the castle and walking down the Main Street USA in Walt's footprints. Just even if Walt didn't step foot in the park, like Disneyland, Disney World, or Tokyo Disneyland, there's something magical about them that redefines them and makes them stand out and different than any other theme park, traction park, whatever you want to call it, anywhere else in the world.
No, dude. Like, Disney sells magic. They sell magic. Um, and it's something. And I'm taking this from a professor that I went to school and said that's what they sell. And it's like, and in the beginning when I said that, well, they what do you mean they sell movies? They sell theme parks, etc. No, they sell magic. For a guy, and again, for a person who's only been to Disneyland once when I was a kid, I will admit it is, out of being to other theme parks like Six Flags Great Adventure, and then when you compare it to Disneyland, there is a sense of just being immersed in wherever you go. If it's going down the main street to the castle, if it's even going on to Space Mountain, it's visiting their restaurants, the attention to detail and customer service, and the ability to be able to keep you immersed in whatever theme that they present you is high bar none. And you always come back with incredible experiences. It's the reason why Disney is always going to be number one at selling people an experience and a magical experience that people will never forget. I want to, and before hopefully we wrap it, there was one moment, and this kind of ties back to the Little Mermaid, the live action one. I do remember, I believe it was Halle Berry was performing a part of Your World. And she had this beautiful gown on, this beautiful luminescent gown that just ideally showed the ocean. And then she was paired behind the castle behind. And then was the audience. The audience was these lights were shaped like glowing jellyfishes, while she's singing a magical world with like this beautiful limbs in her voice, and then the fireworks blows up. That is being so immersive in where you are. It's not, again, that's the difference between other parks trying to do that, where it's just a concert, and that's just being immersive to whatever they are just trying to sell you on. Like, the magic is what that happens. It's just the attention to detail, the attention to preparation, the attention to get people involved into wherever you're in is beyond none. And this is, again, even though like I've been to other theme parks, and like, listen, I like Universal, but you gotta say that Universal really took a lot of their keys from Disneyland. They've been trying to step up to Disneyland on top of that, because Disneyland just knows how to sell a product that way, and they're the kings at doing that. And I just remember that moment and just how beautiful that is. It's like, yeah, it just ties back to me. They just know how to get you immersive to what anything they sell. Doesn't matter wherever the park is, and that's why they're the leading kings of it. You walk away with always a great multiple. You always walk away with a cool experience, no matter how much is you being spent. We're going to walk away with an amazing experience from Disneyland, and that I've always had the high utmost respect for Disney doing that with their theme parks.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and there's many moments like that I could think of, or even just standing in the park and watching the fireworks show, with the castle there and lit up and the music going, and they just know how to immerse you and pull you in, and hit all those, check off all the boxes. The castle and the fireworks going off behind it, and the music pulling you in, and it's just, like you said, magic. And, it's movies.
You just can't forget
parks.
That.
No.
You really just can't forget that, and that just goes to just amazing preparation, attention to detail, attention to little details that maybe certain parks don't really invest. Disney does, because it's important to you. It's important to make sure that every detail is right.
Yes, they are usually very meticulous on details. And speaking of details, Isaac, thank you so much for coming on. Truly appreciate it. And thank you so much for joining me in this discussion.
No, man. Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to be on the show, man.
What are some of your favorite Disney memories over the past 100 years? Let us know. Join the conversation on the social media that I mentioned earlier. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We could be all found out, or X nowadays, isn't it? At WD Magiccast. Make sure to also check us out on YouTube, where we got some stuff going on there as well. Any suggestions that you may have, any questions, be part of the show. Go to Spotify podcast and find our show. Leave us a voice message at Spotify/WD Magiccast, and you can find us there. Leave us a voice message, and you can be heard on the show as well. I want to thank you for your time. I know how little time we all have these days, and knowing the fact that we get to spend some of this time together truly means a lot to us over here at WD Magiccast. We cannot thank you enough. Please, though, help us out. Share out a link on social media, tag us if you will, and let everyone know about the episode that you're listening to, about the show, or tell people in person. If you know people that are Disney people, let them know about the WD Magiccast podcast, and this way they can find out and help grow the family. Or even if you just want, go to Apple Podcast. Leave a rating and review on there. You can do this on Spotify as well. We have all 5-star reviews on there. We need more. Keep them coming, because they will do their part to help promote the show as well. Won't believed in a big Disney family, and so do I. Don't forget to subscribe to the show while you're at it. This way you always know when new episodes are posted. And while you're at it, consider becoming a premium subscriber over on Spotify, spotify.com/WDMagiccast/support. And or also, like I said earlier, check out our shop. Get yourself some cool swag, some cool things, coffee mugs, travel mugs, sweatshirts, hoodies, t-shirts, onesies for babies, artwork, whatever it is. Help this show out. Links to all these, as well as the social medias, can be found in our show notes. In Japan, broken objects are often repaired with gold. The flaw is seen as a unique piece of the object's history, which adds to its beauty. Consider this the next time you feel broken. Never give up. Never give in on yourself. Be your own hero. Let your light shine for the world to see. Because you are special, and you are someone that the world needs here. Now, I'd like to end this week's show with a quote from Walt Disney himself. I came to Hollywood and arrived here in August of 1923 with $40 in my pocket and a coat, a pair of trousers that didn't match. And one half of my suitcase had my shirts and underwear and things, and the other half had my drawing materials. Look what he created from there. Again, that's from Walt Disney. Thank you again for listening, everyone, and I'll see you next time.